Hello to all of you moms out there. This is episode 61 of the Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life podcast. I'm your host, Anokhi Kapasi. I have a real treat for you today because today we're going to be diving into my time blocking method. Now, this is come on because of a listener question. And normally I save those for my Figure It Out Friday episodes. However, I was so excited to do this one. I've been talking about my time blocking method, but haven't actually done an episode on it. So this one is going to be for those of you who feel like there's never enough time to get things done, where you're struggling between constantly switching from task to task and you can't really focus on one thing during a specific time. If that is something that you would like help on, then this episode is going to give you so much clarity because I'm giving you the step-by-step method for doing this.
Are you looking for a way to blend success and motherhood without losing sight of who you are? I get it. I've been there too. Hi, I'm Anokhi, a PhD researcher, business owner, and homeschooling mom of 2 boys. As your life coach, I help moms like you create a life you love at home and at work. If you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, overscheduled, and overlooked, and want a clear roadmap to a balanced life, a meaningful career, and finally feeling like yourself again while being the awesome mama that you are, you're in the right place. In this journey to create the life you truly desire, it's time to rediscover your dreams and achieve your ambitious mom life. Before we get started, I want to remind you that I would love to hear from you. This podcast is all about figuring things out together. So if you have a burning question about balancing your ambitions and motherhood, well, I'm here to help with Figure It Out Fridays, our mini episodes where I answer your questions. Send me your questions through the links in the show notes. Leave me a voice memo on our contact page or email me directly at hello@solveformom.com. I promise to bring my experience, support, and evidence-based answers to help you navigate your ambitious mom life. So today's episode, like I said, is inspired by a listener who asked me about my time blocking method because she found that the traditional approaches were really confusing and ineffective. She says, I tried time blocking, but this method feels kind of random and is not as easy to implement as I thought. Are the blocks supposed to be themed? Why is it not working for me? So my time blocking framework that I'm going to share with you today is the solution that's enabled me to be successful and to balance things successfully. All these big things. I spend the majority of my day with my family, with my kids, homeschooling. Yet I'm still working as a scientific consultant and running an online business. I'm in the building phase of my business, right? Yes, it is possible to be a mom who cleans her own home and spends quality time with her family and follow up on big ideas. Instead of dealing with an overwhelming to-do list, you're going to learn exactly how to tackle each responsibility. Having control and organization over our schedules is one way that we can have control of our days and, quite frankly, our lives. You don't want to be going through your day where you feel like you never have enough time and you're always busy. And unfortunately, that is how many of us end up operating our days. You have so many things to do in the day that you feel so overwhelmed, and basically your day becomes just one really long to-do list. When that happens, your mind is also constantly running through everything that you have to do because it's hard to keep track. You have so much to do and you have no way to organize all of that. Then, by the end of the day, you feel like your whole day, you've just been doing one thing after another, and you didn't even get 5 minutes to yourself. I have talked to so many moms that describe this very feeling to me. And the worst part is, especially for ambitious moms who are used to accomplishing so much, all of a sudden, in motherhood, their days feel so scattered and they're constantly distracted. They don't feel like they're doing any one thing really well at all. You're not able to output the quality that you're used to. And I know, as a high-achieving mom, we're not used to doing anything subpar. If we don't have control over our schedules, then how are we supposed to create routines and systems that help sustain a healthy daily rhythm and that also help tide us over when we're dealing with life transitions? If any of that sounds familiar, then I think you're going to love both the simplicity and the power that comes with time blocking. So whether you're trying to blend career success with motherhood or create some meaningful family memories while pursuing personal growth and passion projects, or you're just trying to carve out some time for yourself, this framework is going to work for you. So the challenge for us ambitious moms isn't that we're doing too much or we want too much. It's really perfectly okay to want it all, honestly. I think the real issue lies in how we're constantly thinking about everything we need to accomplish.
we carry this invisible mental load, right? Trying to manage everything from our grocery lists and all the places that our kids need to be. And we feel this pressure constantly that we don't have enough time. We can't fit it all in. And so it's that constant juggling act in our minds that's truly exhausting us, not really the activities themselves. Like a lot of the things I have planned out in my day, I truly want to do, and they actually energize me. But here's the good news. We don't need to magically create more hours in the day. What we need is a strategic approach to prioritizing our activities. Instead of being overwhelmed by the impossibility of doing it all at once, I don't know about you, but I suck at multitasking. So this time blocking method is one solution to this problem that I've had about not being able to do more than one thing at a time. It allows me to focus on just one thing. This framework acknowledges all of that mental load that you have to deal with, the time constraints that you're constantly feeling, not knowing how to prioritize the myriad of things that you're trying to get done in the day. And then it also ends this crazy approach that we have of constantly trying to expand our schedules instead of just trying to simplify our schedules. And so what you're going to be able to do with this time blocking method is to go from having a busy, chaotic life to having a life doing the things that you want to do and achieving the things that matter most to you. No matter how demanding your schedule is, my approach is going to help you take back control of your time in your life. Let's get on the same page first. What is time blocking? If you haven't heard this term before, time blocking is conceptually simple. It's about dividing your day into dedicated chunks for specific tasks. In practice, it's also that simple. So with this system, you are in control of your schedule and your day. You decide how you're going to spend your time and how you're not. You get to decide when in the day or week you do those things. You will set the frequency for those activities, and you get to decide how you plan to organize your schedule. Now, the most common is to enter your time blocks in a paper planner or a digital calendar. But if you have another solution for that, that's fine. There just has to be some place that you can house this information and refer to it. If you're an ambitious mom, you want to pay really close attention to this episode because time blocking works exceptionally well for ambitious moms. And my method is specifically designed for high-achieving moms. So why does it work so well for us? Because my method of time blocking is basically like setting tiny goals for your time. Just like in project management, defining when and where you're going to do something, and by doing that, you're increasing your chances that you're going to follow through on it, we're doing the same thing with this time blocking method. Another reason is that this method stops decision fatigue. Well, as a mom, you make hundreds of decisions daily. So pre-deciding how you spend your time can really eliminate all of those tiny little decisions that you're making throughout the day. And that saves you lots of mental energy for what truly matters to you. And the really big one is that this method of time blocking minimizes context switching. As busy moms, we're constantly jumping between roles. We can't avoid that part, right? We are going to be a professional at work. We are caregivers at home, nurturing our homes and our families. We manage our household. But by batching similar tasks together, you reduce that mental drain of having to constantly switch. And so this part alone has saved my sanity while balancing homeschooling and running a business. Now, if you've tried time blocking in the past, you probably did it without some guidance. And the reason that you may have not been successful or that it wasn't sustainable is because either you were unsure about how to fit everything into your schedule. Maybe you were frustrated by not doing the things that move the needle on what matters to you the most. And another reason is that maybe you were unable to pivot when something unexpected comes at you. Well, what's the point of time blocking if you have to recreate time blocks daily or weekly? Time blocking is supposed to be a time saver, a time manager, and help you get more bang for your buck, so to speak. Well, with my framework, the time block method, it accounts for all of those issues. So you can start time blocking anytime. You can start now. But I will say that in my experience, it's best to have the following two things done: a life plan and a time audit. Okay, I know you probably have never heard this anywhere else. So why am I saying that? This is why. Because before you can master time blocking, you need to have a clear destination. Having a life plan is like having a GPS for your journey. It makes the entire time blocking process significantly more effective. This is exactly why life planning is the first step in my coaching program and why we do a time audit before we start time blocking. To truly optimize your day and create a meaningful life, you must first define what that meaningful life looks like for you personally. When you clarify your purpose, your values, your vision first, your productivity naturally aligns with what truly matters. So often, people make the mistake of trying to adjust their time, an hour here, an hour there, or even start time blocking completely, and they do this in the hopes of boosting their productivity. But believe me, that can only get you so far and can only last so long. You have to work from the top down. You have to understand at a big picture level your vision and your values and your mission and your purpose, things like that, before you can start optimizing your day and your schedule and your resources. If you want time blocking to make a meaningful difference in your day-to-day, it should work synergistically with your life plan. So think of your life plan as the foundation that ensures your daily time blocks serve your bigger picture. It's going to help you define what success means to you, articulates what your mission and your values are, and it's going to help you make decisions with clarity and purpose. And without this crucial element, you're going to find that your precious time might be filled with tasks that seem urgent, right? But don't actually move you towards your long-term vision. So remember, clarifying who you are must come first before optimizing what you do. This simple shift will transform how you approach time management. Okay, this is the part where I want you to grab either a paper notebook or your digital notes app on your phone and write all of this down. Okay, so the T stands for task list. The first step in effective time blocking is something that I think traditional approaches really miss completely. I need you to take inventory of all the various roles that you take on because as a mom, we wear lots of different hats daily. You can be a caregiver or a professional at work or a community member. And so what I want you to do is to start listing every role that you play. That could be a wife, a mom, a researcher, entrepreneur, things like that. So this simple exercise is going to help you recognize the full scope of all your responsibilities. And because we're delineating all of these roles, you're going to start feeling less overwhelmed by the combined weight of it all. With your notebook, I want you to write each of your roles on a different page of your notebook. And then next, for each role, identify all the tasks that are on your plate. And I know that this can feel overwhelming, but that's why I just want you to start with one role at a time and focus on major projects. That's why I had you use a different page for each role, because then you could just focus on all the tasks for one role at a time. Now, the next step is I, and that stands for identify priorities. Because the goal isn't really to cram more into your day. It's about being intentional with the limited time and energy that you have so that when you do dedicate your time to something, you can show up fully for each role without all that mental exhaustion and constantly trying to move around and getting tons of things done in a short amount of time. So the key is to apply two crucial filters. As I mentioned, you want to have your life plan so that you can ensure that the time that you're spending is done in a very authentic, meaningful way, that it aligns with your values. And we're also going to use the focus funnel so that you can identify what truly needs your attention. So for each task, you want to cross-track it with your life plan. So each one is going to fall into one of three buckets. Either the task is part of your life plan or it's not part of your life plan. And if it is part of your life plan, you want to see if it lines up with something you've identified as a priority or a non-negotiable. So let's talk about identifying your priorities. This really is the cornerstone of effective time blocking. If you've created a life plan, then you already know what your priorities are. But if not, I do want you to take a moment to ensure that you're focusing on what truly matters to you. Your top priorities are those fundamental recurring needs that must happen for you to feel balanced. They're the non-negotiable elements of your life. You can identify your priorities when you find yourself saying, I have to, or I need to. Or these can be really high up on your I want to list. So any task that meets the criteria for priority, please circle it. Now we are going to apply the focus funnel. The focus funnel is eliminate, delegate, automate, or execute. Now I've talked about the focus funnel before, and so I'm going to link another episode where it explains the process in a little more detail. So any task that is not part of your life plan, you're going to eliminate it. So just cross it off. This should feel really liberating. Why are we crossing this off? I know it kind of is nerve-wracking to do that. The reason is because if it's not part of your life plan, then it is not furthering any part of your vision. It is not something that you've identified as being super important in your life or aligned with any of your values. Okay, so everything else now is part of your life plan. So you can decide, can you delegate it or automate it? Most of your tasks can actually be delegated or automated, and it may not seem that way at first, but if you put a little thought into it and think outside the box, you can actually do this to more tasks than you realize. Start making notes next to each of the tasks about how you could do this. So some examples of delegating would be, could you have your kids do it or help you? Maybe you could hire someone. Who could you ask for help? Some tasks can be shared responsibilities, so some of the burden of that task is lightened. For example, maybe you can get in a carpooling rotation, or you can outsource some of your homeschooling to a co-op. Some examples of automating are using templates or software programs that can complete the task for you, or establishing recurring systems so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to do that task. Now, anything that doesn't get delegated or automated but are still part of your life plan, then they are probably tasks that have to be executed by you. I'd like you to take those tasks and put a box around those. These are the tasks that you need to kind of mentally note as being a little more time intensive, require your focus, or require you to be a little more hands-on. Okay, friends, before we move on to the next one, I just want to recap what your notebook should have. Basically, you have multiple pages of tasks with one role per page. Some of the tasks are crossed out. Some of them are circled. Those are your priorities. Some of them are boxed. Those are the ones that have to be executed by you. You also might have notes on how you can automate or delegate, and you're going to explore those further. Okay, so this is where the next step comes in. M stands for minimize context switching. This is basically the time blocking step, but I like to call it minimizing switching because it's so easy to get enthusiastic with clumping and clustering without realizing the purpose, and you end up overstructuring your day. But the real goal is to create a focus block where you don't have to be multitasking or task switching, because context switching really eats away at your productivity. You want to avoid all of this by batching your tasks, which is where you group similar tasks together, and that really saves you a lot of energy and it improves your focus. When you do this, you're going to become so much more efficient no matter what task you're faced with. In your notebook, I want you to start grouping or batching similar tasks. So you can do this by using different color highlighters, color pencils, whatever. You could also use a coding system, or if you're doing this digitally, you just need to rearrange the rows of tasks. When you're done with this exercise, each role will then be broken down into a few clusters of tasks. Now, each of these clusters is going to become a time block. It's okay to have more than one task in your time block as long as all the tasks are related, because your mind doesn't have to switch from one type of work to another type of work. Each block should designate what the activity or activities are, the amount of time that they'll take. You also want to know the frequency at which this has to happen, and this is why having a time audit done in advance really helps. So now you're going to take those time blocks and simply arrange those throughout your week. You want to decide what day, how often, how long are each of these blocks going to be, and really important, what the goal is. And if you need to, because maybe you don't have a big enough window open to complete that entire time block in one go. In that case, you can just take that cluster and break it down into smaller time blocks, and that is totally fine. But once you start using these time blocks, you have to start somewhere. You're going to have a better sense of how long each thing takes and whether you need to expand them or shorten them, okay? But remember, you actually have a little more time than you think because you gained that time when you eliminated some of those tasks off your plate already. Once you get those time blocks organized, this is going to be your basic weekly template for allocating time blocks and for different work. Here is my game-changing tip. To the extent that you can, you want to first schedule in time blocks with priorities in there and non-negotiables. Now, this one was a big one for me because I don't know if you've ever heard of Parkinson's Law, but it's this idea that if you don't set boundaries and constraints on your time, your work is going to expand to fill in all of that available time. So if you want self-care and you've designated that as a non-negotiable, or you want to pursue your big goals and that is a real priority for you, then you have to carve that time out. Otherwise, there's going to be a gazillion other chores that are just going to take over. Now, this approach ensures that you're not going to sacrifice what matters most to the altar of productivity. And the last thing, E, in the time block method is expect interruptions and plan for them. Well, I've talked about this before, but it's really critical to build in buffer times between blocks. Say 15 to 30 minutes even will be enough. Buffers are intentionally planned gaps in your schedule that serve as backup sort of emergency time slots. And they create flexibility into your daily routine so that when you're faced with a situation where things aren't going as planned, you have some leeway. And let's face it, as moms, this happens a lot. And I know it's easy to feel like a failure when you create a plan and then it doesn't go accordingly, right? But when it comes to schedules, it's not the accuracy of the schedule that defines your success. It's your ability to pivot and not completely lose the entire day. I have some more information about creating effective buffers in episode 46, so I'm going to link that in the show notes. But here are some strategies to deal with unexpected turns in your day. You can create if-then contingency plans, right, for common challenges. So, for example, if your child gets sick, then know which tasks can be rescheduled first. You can build shorter time blocks so that if an activity doesn't go as planned, you actually have less time to make up for that. It's basically giving a short task a much wider runway. And then finally, you can map your energy patterns throughout the day. There are many different ways to catalog your energy and to track these cycles and to even synchronize with them. When you work with your energy, it helps tip things in favor of the time blocking being used the way that you plan to use it. Well, if you heard this episode, then you know now that there's a better way. There's a way to reclaim your time while being present for your family. My time block method really isn't just another productivity hack. It is the most comprehensive system that is actually going to work for you because you are an ambitious mom. You have big things on your plate, and this is the way that you're going to not only start them, not only do them, but you're going to be able to achieve them. You're going to accomplish the things you set your mind to. And I know that the projects you're working on are long-term projects often. So you need to have a time blocking system that's going to be sustainable for all of the time that you need to get things done. And I know that you're trying to establish meaningful balance. This method can help you with all of that. If you want to fully understand how to master this method, if you like some expert guidance on this, then I want to invite you to a free 30-minute exploratory call where we'll discuss what isn't working with your current schedule and what is, and we're going to identify the small steps that you can take towards a better work-life balance and a better schedule. And I'm going to help you see how you can start implementing the time block method to create flow and flexibility in your schedule while maintaining all of those other important priorities. So this call is completely free. There is no obligation. It's just simply my way of helping you determine if my coaching approach is the right fit for your unique challenges. So click on the link in the show notes and book your call today. I can't wait to talk to you. Now, I know that I gave you quite a bit of information. More than enough for you to get started, especially if this is your first exposure to the idea of time blocking. So I want to give you a quick recap of what we talked about. The T.I.M.E time block method is T for taskless. You're just going to start by listing your roles and the tasks for each of those roles. I, identify priorities first. I prefer to use a life plan, but you can use whatever method you want. And then you want to make sure that you work on those priorities first. M is for minimizing context switching, and this is where we take all of those tasks and we group them together so that it saves you mental energy and helps you increase your focus. You don't want to go from very different tasks within one time block. And E is to expect interruptions, but we are going to plan for them. This is where you build in buffer times between blocks. So with the time block method, you're going to be able to establish better boundaries. You're going to have sustainable daily rhythms that work with your unique life. And you're going to finally have that sense of balance that you've been searching for, where you can reclaim precious time for things like self-care and stop feeling scattered throughout your day. And with this time blocking method, you can create a schedule that works for your unique and ambitious mom life.
I hope today's episode will help you create time and freedom to pursue something you love to do. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and tell other purpose-driven mamas about it. Who knows? You might even make a new friend by sharing a tip. It's all free. By the way, it would be amazing to hear what you think about the show when you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. After all, my passion is to make this a great experience for you. I'll see you next week for another episode of Achieve Your Ambitious Mom Life with Anokhi Kapasi.